McFarling. Good evening, Mrs. McFarling. We're glad you're here.
For the record, I am Lori. I'm not a patron. I am a taxpayer. We need to get these right. Each of you received at the exchange a copy of my son's homework, and we discussed. There were topics such as sterilization, vasectomies. All of this was population control. There was one screen in the Web 2.0 tools that they printed off for my son who is not allowed on it. This is a time for them to die. Too bad it's time to wish a catastrophe upon billions. My son, that's his science class. We had a little boy that likes science. You're teaching them that there's too many of us and it's time to kill us. My son's English class. He had to read Ernest Hemingway, The Elephant of White Hills, which is about the elephant of White Hills, which is about an old man and a young girl talking about an operation. They're talking about having an abortion. Have this abortion and then you can go travel and enjoy the world. I wasn't told what you're going to teach my son. I don't have a time to go and tell my son that that's not our moralistic value. You're teaching our children that we should be killed, that we should kill the unborn. You're teaching our children Agenda 21, which is out of the United Nations, which is an unelected governmental body that has no representation by those it claims to govern, but does not. You need to learn what Agenda 21 is because Mr. Fraley has allowed it. When we fought IB schools so hard, he has allowed it into our schools through the Web 2.0 tools. You are teaching our children immoral beliefs against my beliefs, against our religion, and I believe we have a deacon, a preacher, and a superintendent who stands up and claims he's a Baptist. Those are Christians.
1 minute.
We don't believe in killing. What are you going to do about the curriculum? I went through the grievous process this week, and cards were thrown in my face, and people refused to talk to me. Am I angry? Yes. Deal with it. You're teaching my son to kill our future. Deal with it and get it out of our schools now.
Thank you, Mrs. McFarling. I forgot to announce that our Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Griffin, will give you a 1-minute warning when you have 1 minute left. Mr. David Allen is our next speaker. Good evening, Mr. Allen. We're glad you're here.
Hi there. I actually live in Galveston County, but I work here in Katy, and my employer pays taxes. I eat here, buy a lot of gas here to drive back and forth. So the bus driver thing reminds me of, it was 5th or 6th grade. And, of course, what does a school bus look like, right? At the time, a popular Beatles tune, we all live in a yellow submarine. The bus driver would lead us when we got bored or, had to be happy. She would help us go through that song a couple of times, and it was always a lot of fun. So it kind of reminded me of that. I'm here to speak on the web-based population control that was just mentioned here. Those classes for 12th grade, the problem is the State Board of Education can't see and evaluate what's on it. Parents can't see and evaluate what's on it. It changes from day to day. Everybody knows you go looking for something on the web. It was there yesterday. It's defunct today, or something new pops up tomorrow. So that's not really a good idea for filling students' minds with things that, these are young, impressionable people going on to conquer the world here, and they need to have the right information. You may know that under the new National Medical Program, girls as young as 12 and boys as young as 12 years old now in Oregon are offering permanent, irreversible sterilization for free at school. This is something that should be reserved for the age of majority, and I certainly hope that that is not allowed here at this school as the 8-year infiltration of the new medical plan proceeds across the nation. Now, the West is dying. I'm not talking about China or Iran or India, but Russia, England, Italy. My grandparents are all from Italy and England, came here as foreigners and raised their families. The United States, okay, zero population growth. To have a stable, strong country, we should have zero population growth. And what does that mean? That means 2.5 children per couple. It's the half child that gets really tough. But
1 minute.
2 or 3 children per couple should be encouraged. That's a simple maintenance of the country. It's not expanding, that's not contracting. And England only has 1.4. Russia has 1.3. We have 1.7, but they're all below 2.5. So really, we need to encourage the students as they go out into the world that when they're settled, when they have their family, 2 to 3 children is a national good thing, and that people are good. And carbon dioxide helps the trees grow and stay green. So we need to breathe. We need to have 2 or 3 children and do things that help the environment and have a stable country with 0 population growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Our next speaker is Aaron Mosasek. Sorry about that. We're really glad you're here. Good evening.
I just learned how to say it too. My name is Aaron Mosachek. I live...
Put that microphone very close so we can hear you. Thank you.
My name is Aaron Mosachek. I have 4 children that are currently enrolled in Katy ISD. I am asking the Katy ISD School Board to help keep the students of Wood Creek Junior High safe by providing Wood Creek Junior High with a crossing guard for the intersection of Katy Fluellen and Wood Creek Bend. Upon losing bus service this school year, the children of Grayson Lakes must carpool, walk, or bike to school. In trying to choose a healthier lifestyle for my child and my family, my daughter bikes to school. She reports to me that cars pass in front and behind her as she crosses the intersection of Katy Fluellen and Wood Creek Bend to get to school, as my pictures demonstrate. Furthermore, I drove my child to school Friday, October the 26th, to find stoplights and crossing lights out. As my child exited the car, I observed 20 or more students dodge cars as they crossed Katy Fluellen in the dark. They had no working light, no police officer, nor crossing guard. I am asking you to approve a crossing guard for Wood Creek Junior High, so my daughter and her classmates can continue to arrive at school and home happy, healthy, and whole.
Thank you, Mrs. Mosachek. Our next speaker is Kayleen Coleman. Hi, Ms. Coleman. I'm glad you're here.
First of all, thank you for your service and your time. I know a lot of you are volunteering here. I wanted to talk about some of the inappropriate materials in the school. This is not a one school, one level, one class kind of thing. As I've looked throughout the district, I've talked with 7 schools so far. I've been documenting the books. I've been taking down the children as I speak to them and say, how did this make you feel? And I've gotten some wonderful answers from them that are frankly a little sad. In addition to that, too, I have been compiling some of the quotes from some of the schools. And I think somehow in our school that I do reside here, I do have children here, and I think like almost everybody here in this room, we choose Katy partly because of the schools and because of the family atmosphere. There's a couple things that go on at one of the schools that one of my sons attends, and that's at Seven Lakes, and they do talk about virtue. And I think as they talk about virtue, I want to kind of juxtaposition that with some of the things that we are reading. And as every single solitary parent universally, and I wrote comma literally in the literature that you should have that I have handed in, every single parent said, I had no idea. And I wanted to go over just very briefly a couple of the quotes and then move on to what we could do in the meantime. First of all, I know there are some difficult times right now with some kids concerning suicide.
Mrs. Coleman,
yes.
Just want to make sure that your comments will be appropriate. We do have children in the audience.
Actually, we did notice that, and we have them written, and we're not going to use those that are inappropriate because we're mothers too.
I understand. Thank you so much.
That's why my 10-year-old's at home.
You.
Okay. This one on suicide talks about, I want to be dead, and in death we become heroes. I counted 53 quotes in this one piece of work that show suicide as a way out. With the violence, castration is threatened throughout the book, and it's documented. When this book was written and published in 1992, the publisher said this book is too violent to be published. Yet 20 years later, it's not only published, it's being with our minors as required reading. And not only required reading, the books are being sold in the schools to somehow, this is why so many of the parents said, I have no idea. We're talking about misogyny, we're talking about homoeroticism. As I looked at some of the things that the kids would be researching as they did their group projects, the bulk of the research on this book is on homoeroticism, which I found very sad. I am a mom with 2 degrees. I know that we can teach literature in this district. I know that we can do better. I would love to work with the schools. I am the gal that you can put a nickel in and I can talk for 2 or 3 hours about the books that I love. I truly believe we can do better, and I would like to make sure that we do that as a whole. Thank you so much for your time.
Madam President, I visited with Mrs. Coleman a couple of weeks ago and expressed to the principal her concern. And she addressed him also, and we're looking into that selection process for that particular book. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Coleman. Our next speaker is Cindy Morris. Hi, Mrs. Morris. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Cindy Morris. I do reside here. I have children that attend school here as well. I'm pleased to hear your comments that this book is under review because that is what most of my comments have to deal with. I'm here to raise my concerns about the inappropriate material that is being presented to our children in the AP Literature classes, with the hope that the teachers and administrators would take a more active role in screening for the inappropriate and objectionable content that's being read there, and would love to see some of those selected works being removed from the required reading. My concern began over the summer as my daughter read 1,000 Acres. She voiced her concern to me. I was quite disturbed when I saw that the book was littered with rape and incest and sexual abuse. I think the lessons were lost on her as she was, whatever they were trying to teach in her reading that, were lost as she could not get those graphic images out of her mind, which was quite concerning to me. I was disappointed, felt that there's an implied trust with the school systems that they would not present harmful material to our children. So then I took on the next book myself before I allowed her to read it, and quite frankly I was appalled. I will not read the quotes because we do have young children here, as you mentioned. They are in the packet that was provided to you before, but I will say that they have repeated references to sex toys, acts, the pornographic material is quite graphic. Very disturbing for me to read as an adult. Erotic acts, castration, murder references, multiple and repeated references to suicide, recipes for bombs, blowing up buildings, self-destruction, using human fat to make soap, constant threats of death, foul language, drug abuse, and does not even begin to address the extreme violence. Is that really what we want our youth reading? Do we want these ideas placed in their mind? I don't think so. I know there's some that argue that we can find something objectionable in any literary work, and censorship and suppression of literature are enemies of freedom and progress. I certainly understand that. Certainly there are plenty of examples to draw from history. Literary works that have illuminated injustice, plight of the oppressed. However, this is not one of those books of literature. There may be brilliant literary elements in this book, but unfortunately I think they're overwhelmed by the salacious material. Certainly these elements can be found in books that enlighten, challenge, and inspire rather than wallow in the gutter of human behavior. But what concerns me the most is not only only required to read it, but they'll focus on various raw elements to deconstruct it for symbolism, literary devices, deep social meaning, the whole reason why we put our children in AP literature in the first place. So they will have this trash swirling around in their heads, images and experiences we try to avoid. I'm confident the school would not tolerate studying issues of Playboy because of it has a few great articles, and I find it ironic that images in a magazine are defined as pornographic, but when a writer creates such images or worse via words, we honor it as literature. So I hope that Katy ISD, the teachers, and the AP program will reconsider their choices for the books that they have approved. And I hope that we can look at this so we do not do our youth injustices. We, as parent, teachers, administrators, should be doing all they can not only to educate, uplift, and inspire.
Madam President, if I may, I want to thank Mrs. Morrison and Ms. Coleman as well for coming tonight, all those who've addressed this issue. As a parent as well, I have concerns, and I support our teachers. I support academic freedom, without a doubt. But I think in today's environment, we've got to be very careful about what we do select. So we will be looking at our selection process to make certain that we're not somehow using that to make decisions that may not be aligned with this community's values. So.
Thank you, Mr. Fraley. Thank you, Mrs. Morris. Our next speaker is Jessica Beard. Hi, Mrs. Beard. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Last time I was up here, I had mentioned possibly having a district-wide dismissal policy for all schools, and I'm up here to stress that point yet again. I think there is some benefit in implementing and creating a uniform dismissal policy for all schools. Number one, because the safety of our children is what is important. But number two, it would provide accountability for all the schools, enabling us opportunities to, look for errors, ways that we can close the gaps, because, our kids' safety is number one. So I just want to urge you guys to just at least consider. Katy Elementary, you just write a name on a piece of paper and you pick them up. Other schools, they have the tag system. When we were at Hutzel, we used tag system, and I thought it worked great. But I just think that as a district, we should have something that's unified for every school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Beard. Elizabeth Johnson, you're up next. Hi, Mrs. Johnson. It's good to see you.
Hello. My name is Elizabeth Johnson, and I have 3 children in the district. I want to talk to you guys about our hiring practices so far. I want to encourage that we hold another job fair for bus drivers as quickly as possible. We've experienced a huge delay in being able to get these drivers in place, and that's primarily because of fingerprinting issues and testing dates. And so knowing that we have this huge delay in place, we need to be making sure we always have bus drivers in the process. I understand that we currently have approximately 15 drivers in training, and that those drivers will be moving into the reserve pool for extra drivers to cover absenteeism and training and a variety of different things. But I would encourage the district to continue to host job fair. I would expect that there should be one probably starting in November, and speaking to Mr. McMeans and Mr. Anders. And as part of that hiring practice, I'd like to see our hazardous conditions policy that the district has in place modified and changed so that roads like Mason, West Green, Fry, Peak, 4-lane roads with speed limits in excess of 35 miles per hour are not acceptable for children to be crossing at any point in time. So we would encourage that the job fair be held quickly, and we continue that process so that we can always have drivers in the pipeline. And with the new high school opening up, we expect that the need for drivers in this district will continue. We have excessive growth around the district, and we'd like to see these hazardous condition policies changed so that our children are safe. I know Mr. McMeans and Mr. Anders are not comfortable with some of the routes that these children are walking, and that's because they're dealing with what they have to deal with and the numbers that they have. And it's our duty and it's our responsibility as parents and as board members and community members to help them get the drivers that they need. And that will mean
1 minute.
Having massive recruiting efforts around the district with parent involvement. We expect that the Houston Chronicle and the Green Sheet and Craigslist and whatever advertising means we can use need to be in place. Sci-Fair, for example, has a personnel in place specifically to hire bus drivers, and we do not have that. And seeing as that is the direction we may need to go, I would encourage you to look into something like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. Our next speaker is Robert Willoughby. Good evening, Mr. Willoughby.
So glad I was able to follow Ms. Johnson, the lady, because that was intense. My name is Robert Willoughby. I am a resident of the district. I have 4 kids, 3 of which did graduate from Katy High School. I want to thank you for your time. The young lady that was the bus driver, I think she left. That's so awesome. That really is a reason why Katy is as special as it is. And my eyes got a little watery listening to that, I must say. But I thank her for her service. You guys had an exchange with the community this, I guess, last week, and I want to thank you for that. I hope we can push that further, make it bigger where we can hear and more people can come to that. I enjoyed that. Mr. Huckabee, you had some great points about bus drivers and what they do over at Sci-Fair, I believe it is. And I want to thank you for that. That was good. Last time I was up here, I left you out of a list of people that help with the Facebook and bus lady people, and I wanted to just make sure that people knew that you did have a part in that and contribute to that, and I want to thank you for that. The stuff I'm hearing with the ladies with the books, as a parent, a daughter of twin girls, or a father of twin girls, that concerns me, and I hope that you will look into that. That's certainly not anything I want my kids to read, and I mean, they're 27, so, you know, Daddy doesn't like that type of stuff, but that's really all I have to say. Thank you for your help.
Thank you, Mr. Willoughby. Our next speaker is Thelma Taormina. Hi, Mrs. Taormina. We're glad you're here. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. I don't live in Katy, and I don't have any children in the school district. But just being here and watching the awards and everything that was going on, it was just kind of took me back to when I was in school. And I appreciate you all being here. I do have some concerns. My husband and I run a grassroots organization which is devoted to education. And what we're finding out about the educational system, not just here, but throughout the state of Texas and throughout the country, is of great concern to us. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of the sustainability programs that are being taught, but they really are geared towards a one-world government. It isn't the type of schooling that I would want when I went to school. And when I hear about someone being concerned about their kids crossing the street or riding the bus because they're worried about traffic, that's the kind of things in America I think parents should be concerned about. I don't think we should have to be concerned about our seniors learning about population control as they go out to enter the world. Population is something that will take care of itself. It always has. I know that there's a lot of people that believe in climate warming and all of that stuff, but the planet will take care of itself. I'm very concerned that our children are not learning the true history of this nation, of what freedom really means, and of what they're giving up every time controls are taken away from them. I would like to see them learn more about how our government works, how it was set up, and what it's meant to do as it performs its duties for the people, not to the people. I really am very concerned. I've seen some of these assignments. My other concern is I don't understand why the parents can't get into the assignments and see the assignment
1 minute.
Just like the children do. I don't understand that. I also don't understand why the public at large can't see it, and why only parents or teachers or children can sign on to these websites and internet tools, because the public, after all, is paying the taxes to fund the schools. So those are my comments. I do have a lot of concern. God bless you all for taking care of our kids.
Thank you, Mrs. Taormina, for being here. Our final speaker this evening is Karen Schulman. Hi, Mrs. Schulman. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
I just want to ask a clarifying question. You have some F&G complaints coming, pending.
Process.
Are these comments related to those?
No, they're not.
Okay, thank you.
So my name's Karen Schulman, and yes, I do have children in the district. 3 people in your HR department are under investigation by the Fort Bend District Attorney's Office and are facing possible criminal charges for failing to report a teacher who harmed young girls in a school, withholding evidence, and misleading the Katy ISD police. Most parents like me don't give much thought to who is in the HR group.
Mrs. Shulman.
We care about our kids' teachers.
Mrs. Shulman.
Yes.
This is something that has come before the board and so is inappropriate for the public forum.
This is
section.
part of my FNG.
This is one of those issues that we have already addressed as a board.
Actually, you haven't. You haven't heard me yet. We care about our kids' teachers, their coaches, and principals. But when male teachers are caught doing bad things to our daughters, the HR group intervenes. Then parents rely on them to enforce the policies designed to keep kids safe and cooperate with the police. The Katy ISD police do an outstanding job. I've met them and we couldn't ask for more. They're smart, brave, and come to work every day with the sole purpose to protect our kids. But how can they protect our kids when your HR department doesn't report potential crimes, works against them, and misleads them? And how can parents trust the HR department when the public records paper trail proves they knew a male teacher confessed to doing inappropriate things with young teenage girls and they didn't even call the police? Or enforce the policy he violated that calls for immediate termination? They did nothing to protect our children, and in fact, they left the teacher in the classroom. The policy is clear. It says a teacher doing what he did shall be terminated, but they didn't do that. And as you know, this teacher did it again and again and again. In 1 week, 3 different sets of parents caught and reported him, and they still didn't report it to the police. I filed complaints, and now, in addition to refusing to cooperate with the police, they won't cooperate with your own policies department. Instead, they've hired lawyers. They have their lawyers sending me certified letters and emails, and even calling my house. Is this what parents can expect when we have proof your HR people put our kids in jeopardy, to have your lawyers harassing us in our homes? If the DA and the police all have the same information you do and came to the conclusion it should be investigated criminally, why are you refusing to investigate it internally? And why won't you hold them accountable for failing to enforce district policies and for putting our daughters in danger? You need to do the right thing. Protect our children and fire the people who don't. Thank you.
Madam President, again, this is a board item that was brought before the board a couple of times, and we have a string of complaints that have continued through the same vein, and to where we've hired outside counsel to provide the hearing to make sure that it's very objective versus having the same staff here over and over again. And that's why we have attorneys involved, because we've hired attorneys to hear the cases versus having staff hear those same cases again.
Excuse me, Mrs. Shulman, there will be no, excuse me. Mrs. Shulman, you may not have outbursts in this meeting. Thank you. Officer, I'm going to have to ask the officer to, sorry. Hold on. Mrs. Shulman. Thank you. Excuse me. There will be order in this meeting or I'll clear the room. Okay. We'll proceed to the consent agenda.